Unmuted.
Good morning and welcome to our Monday Motivation Spotlight series. We've already had fun before we even started the recording behind the scenes. So welcome to all of you who are live with us. Always best to join live if you can, as well as to those of you who are joining and looking at the recording, some of you on a different time zone. I'm Lesley Kaplan. I'm the founder and host of this podcast series, Monday Motivation Spotlight, which, as you all know, or most of you know, was founded as a result of October 7th and the war in Israel and on our And our guest today is no better than someone who also founded her organization, who I'll introduce in just a moment, as a result of the war. So our sponsors and co-sponsors and co-hosts, as you know, are ACI, with thanks to a grant from the Reinhardt Foundation. Thank you to ACI. And we're in a new month, February, so we have a new co-sponsor. Thank you to Kim Bash, Israel's real estate matchmaker, I'll say that again slowly, who is our co-sponsor for the month. So today, our guest who's become famous, and I will say that over the last couple of months, is Tasha Cohen, who I'm going to add and actually spotlight while I introduce her. In fact, we have a double guest today because we have her dog, Luna, who is also going to be part of the show. Good morning also to Luna. Tasha Cohen, who many of you have heard of, the lady with the pink hair. We were just talking about her pink hair earlier, who's become part of her branding. And we all know that that's one of my favorite things about building and branding your business. So Tasha with the pink hair, otherwise known as Tasha Cohen of Chayal's Angels, who's been in Israel for 12 years, and also at the onset of the war, saw a need, and she's going to tell us all about it, all about her organization, what got her into actually starting this in terms of approaching the bases and starting to work with soldiers and making a difference on the bases by herself getting involved, as well as collaborating and cooperating with healers and therapists. So Tasha, thank you so much for being our guest today. I just love everything about you in the couple of minutes we've been talking with your pink hair, with the colors. Ooh, that's one of my favorite colors. And of course, with your dog in the background, it's just all so natural. So please share with us, who's Tasha Cohen? Tell us all about Chayal's Angels. Tell us how we can get involved and contribute and just everything. Share some inspirational stories. And I'm sure you have many of different soldiers that you've worked with and who you've come across since you founded your organization. Take it away. We'd love to hear your story.
Thank you so much for having me, Lesley. I'm sorry that my voice is slightly going. I was with a big group of soldiers up on the northern border yesterday, and it was an incredibly long day, but a magical day. And these days do tend to take my voice slightly. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you. I don't do airs and graces. What you see is what you get. I'm incredibly authentically natural. That's me, as you can see. Sat on the sofa with my dog. Here's my comfort. Where to start? All right, I guess I'll start with October 7th. Like everyone in our country, in our nation, I spent the day paralyzed, trying to work out what was going on. I was meant to be a helper at a party close by to the Nova party for the ecstatic dance community. And a few days beforehand, I felt this deep something inside me that said, you don't have it in you this week, stay home. And this little one over here, who generally will let me sleep as late as I need on Shabbat, woke me up extremely early that morning. And I thought, that's strange. I mean, she never does that. And we went out for a walk and bumped into my neighbor whilst I was still in my pajamas, hadn't even picked up my phone. And she said to me, did you see the news? And my response was what it always is since I was in my early 20s, which was, I don't watch news. It's not good for the soul. And she said to me, well, my kids are in the army. So I responded like most Israelis would. My response was, let me guess, more rockets? And she said, you might want to check the news. And that's when I realized something big had happened. And I had no idea, like everybody else. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. I had no idea what was going on. I live in Pardes Chana, which is this beautiful sweet spot in Israel, which is sort of north of the south of Israel and south of the north of Israel. We're quite protected here, and it's beautifully quiet on Shabbat, as is normal. I'll backtrack just a little bit and give you a bit of a background of me. I'm 38 years old, originally from London. I originally moved to Jerusalem in 2008. I suffered with back problems since I was 15 years old. And when I was 20, I was hit in a car by another car, which left me with major spinal damage. And I ended up having multiple surgeries to fix my spine and having to learn to walk again. And it was years and years and years of treatment and pain. And unfortunately, I've been in chronic pain ever since. So I moved to Israel in 2008 after having had my first surgery. And about 9 months in, I was having serious problems walking. And anyone who lives in Jerusalem knows that there's a lot of hills. And if you can't walk comfortably, it's going to be quite short on your day. So when I went back to England, I was actually supposed to be completing my Aliyah process. I found out that I had to do more surgery. I've completely gone out of order, but just to give you an even more bit of background, I grew up with an Israeli parent and an English parent, but I never connected to my Israeli side. And when I found myself in Jerusalem, I really thought I was going to come out just for a couple of months. I wanted to go to seminary and study a little bit. I just wanted to take some time to reset. I was in my early 20s. I just had spinal surgery, and I had rediscovered my faith in God, and decided that if I was going to try and live a Jewish lifestyle, observant lifestyle, that I wanted to ask some questions. Intended to come out here for maybe 2 months or so. God had other plans, as always. I was sat on a bus one day and found myself looking around. I think I was 22 years old, and I found myself looking around, seeing religious, non-religious, men, women, soldiers, seminary kids, everything. It was Erev Shabbat, by the central bus station in Jerusalem. And it was like somebody turned a light on in my brain. And I suddenly heard, "You're supposed to live here." And I went, "What? I'm not meant to live in Israel." I'm like the most London girl. But that was it. I never switched off. And after a few weeks of, really? Okay, I accepted it. Eventually, I started the Aliyah process. As I said, I then ended up back in the UK to do more surgery. I ended up having to have a spinal fusion. I had some major complications during my surgery. I ended up in the ICU, strapped down to a bed for 7 days. I had to completely learn to walk again. My brain totally froze from trauma in the past. And my body I couldn't get my feet down on the ground. I lost complete bladder control because I had a catheter for so long. I was in the hospital for about 7 weeks, and then moved into my mum. I left home at 18, so was a bit strange for me. Moved into my mother's house, and she helped care for me with some social workers and carers for about 9 months whilst I went through physiotherapy. And I'm talking 24 years old, having to be showered by strangers or your parent. It's not ideal. But so that's my background with pain. That's where it comes from. So in 2012, after I got the sign off from my surgeon, I was straight back on a plane and came home. And I've been here ever since. I lived in Tel Aviv for 7 years. I lived in Herzliya for a few years, and now I live in Pardes Khana. I love my community. It suits me perfectly. I love my neighbors. They all help me with the dogs since I've been crazy running around the country the last few months. Just yesterday I called a neighbor and said, "I'm going to be out for hours. Would you take my dog out?" And that's what I love about it here. I've got a community. So fast forwarding, over my years of work, I always spent my life saying, "What am I supposed to do? What is it that I'm supposed to do with my life?" I was always so jealous of people who knew what they were supposed to do. I've always felt deep inside that I'm meant to help people, but what that looks like, I've had no idea. I've worked as an operation manager for about 12 years. I'm also somewhat of a specialist in 0 to 3 year olds. I've worked with many, many new mothers, maybe 100 at this point over the years. And 2 years ago, I decided to go after a little dream of learning to be a carpenter. So I left everything and I went to train in carpentry. It was hard because working with 30 Russian men, Russian, Ukrainian, and Arab guys, um, not the easiest environment for a Northwest London Jewish girl, but I made it work. And then in June, I decided it wasn't the perfect path for me. The salary, unfortunately, the industry has got really hard in the last few years in Israel, and I just couldn't make it work. So I decided to leave everything, and actually just went and started cleaning houses for a few months. I'm a bit of a clean freak, and I thought I need some time. Maybe I want to go and study something. I don't know. So I started cleaning houses um, in July, and then October 7th happened, and I was pretty paralyzed on my sofa that day. I think I sat here from 8 a.m. until about 3 a.m. in the morning. In the early evening, I started to call a friend whose little brother, I've known this family most of my life, was in Golani, and inquire where he was. I understood he was in Gaza. Was just praying that he was going to be okay. And I started to phone some friends and said, "Whose husband can I drive to Miluim? I'm single. So, I don't have little kids here. I don't have a partner to drive. Let me help people." And a very good friend of mine who was heavily pregnant um, said to me, he's allowed to stay home for right now because she was very, very much at the end of her fourth pregnancy. And I said, if it changes, let me know. And at 7 a.m. the next morning, he phoned me and he said, "I've got to go in." No problem. I got up. Let's go. Unfortunately, that morning, I also found out that my friend's brother, Nathaniel Young, had passed away on the first morning in Gaza. As I said, I've known that boy his whole life. He was like a little brother to me. But I had a couple of soldiers in my car when I found out that news. And I just said to myself, you do not break. Absolutely not. You need to look after these soldiers. They need to go and save our country. So I dropped them all off. And then I found out that the funeral was going to be the next day. And I organized myself and a few other people to get there. And I think it was the hardest day of my life. I decided there and then that there was no more funerals for me, that I couldn't cope with it. I'm very honored that I got to be there for Nathaniel's family and support them and hug his parents who have since made Aliyah. But it was too much, and I felt this deep, deep calling inside that I had to help the soldiers. And if Nathaniel was alive, all he would want was that. So I started spreading my number out. It happened super fast. I honestly don't even really remember how. I guess I sent my number to the local council and a few other places. And before I knew it, I'm not joking, I had 15 or 20 phone calls every day. And I was hitting 5 or 6 bases with deliveries of soldiers, equipment, hot meals, whatever they needed. I mean, the IDF do take care of our soldiers. I don't want people to think they don't. But 600,000 reservists turned up without even being called on that day. So they were not prepared for this quantity of people. Therefore, restaurants and businesses and families were cooking for the soldiers. And I was just delivering the meals. And through this journey, I was driving literally all over the country, 12, 14 hours a day. I just started to say to everyone, I opened up my social media and I said, you know me, I don't ask for money. It's not my style. If I don't have it, I don't spend it kind of person. But I'm spending a fortune on gas, around 600 shekels every day. And who can help me? And suddenly people started saying, we desperately want to help you. How can we send you money? So we figured out a route for that. And on the second week, the soldiers started asking me if I would stay and have coffee with them. I think partly they needed someone to talk to. They weren't telling their families and their wives at the time in particular where they were. I think they felt they needed to shelter them a little bit. The general consensus with Miluim is they don't do anything. And they wanted their families to believe that. But unfortunately, what I was seeing up in the north already on the second week was a lot of activity. There was times that I was being asked to stay off the road because there was too much activity, so they were keeping me in the bases for a while. And then they started to tell me how much pain they were in. And I thought, of course you're in pain. She's a 38-year-old man who's probably not been to a gym in a decade. I know I haven't. You know, you've got 3 kids at home or 5 kids at home, and you've got business. Like, what shape are you in for a war? And I instantly understood that this was going to be a very heavy war, something unlike we'd never seen. Um, and I said, sorry, Luna, come here. This is how she de-stresses.
Okay, Luna decided she doesn't want to be on camera anymore.
She doesn't like the camera. Come here, you. Come on.
I love how you just go with the flow and how natural you are. And that's no doubt much behind the reason for your success as well, Tasha, in addition to the other amazing stuff that you've been sharing with us. I think we're all just like dying to hear more. Like we're just all glued to the screen, or certainly I
am. I sometimes feel like, who am I to be doing all this and speaking up? But this is me. So yeah, they started to tell me how much pain they were. It made sense to me. And then 2 of my friends called me and asked me for a ride home. They'd had small injuries. At the time, the army's status was if you are sent home for 2 weeks and you need more than that, then you're being instantly released from the army. And I just said, we're not going to win like that. We're just not. I also know what happens when pain reaches the brain. And when trauma and pain are combined, it's dangerous. I'm going to be raw here. Just heard the landlords are sorry. Luna, I can't concentrate with barking. Come in. Come on. Luna, quickly.
Does Luna speak Hebrew too, or she only speaks English?
Actually, I speak to her in Hebrew. I did that at the beginning in case, God forbid, she ever got lost, that someone else could find her.
Cool.
So where was I? I'm going to be very raw here. I've had 2 suicide attempts in my life.
Wow.
One when I was a teenager. I suffered with depression, and one just over 3 years ago. I had a nervous breakdown. Life got too much. A lot of things happened in the same amount, a very short period of time, and I had a nervous breakdown, and I couldn't see a way out. I couldn't see. I was severely traumatized at the time, and I couldn't see anything. And I have been struggling for years of how to understand to live with chronic pain. And I got the help I needed. And part of that help was going to what's called a balance house in Israel, which is a holistic therapeutic approach to healing. It's 11 to 12 hours a day, 5 days a week of acupuncture, talk therapy, art therapy, yoga therapy, dance therapy, shiatsu, kung fu, you name it, they bring it. And I have to tell you that the opportunity to go to this house for 6 weeks as an adult changed my life forever. And not only did it change my life, it changed my relationship with my pain. Since then, I have not spent a single day in bed not being able to walk. And up until then, I had spent for 15 years, a third of every year stuck in bed on bed rest. And I believe that the true understanding of moving things on a cellular level and understanding trauma, as well as working on the body every day, is what's changed my life. So when the soldiers started to tell me that they were in so much pain, I knew what the dangers were. And I knew I have tried anything any doctor has ever asked me to do. In my early 20s, they had me on 38 tablets a day for years. They ruined my immune system and my stomach. I take nothing now, nothing. I use medical marijuana, and I do 1 epidural a year to help me with some pain relief. Apart from that, I do yoga every day. I do acupuncture every week. I do breath work. I do therapy. I walk. My body is different, and my brain is different as well. And that is what really inspired me to get here, because I knew that I could get them what they needed. So I started to look around to find therapists. I was hearing that there were some massage therapists going to bases. The few people I managed to reach literally said to me, "We're only going south. Millowin don't do anything." And I said to them, "You are normally correct, but right now you are very, very wrong. And they need our help now more than ever." And honestly, my incredible mechanic said to me, "I need to take care of some parts of your car. I need it for half a day or so." And I walked into his office and I said, "You can have the car if I can have your office." And he said, "Sure." And that's where Chayal's Angels was born. I opened up my laptop and I said, "I can do this. I'm not waiting for other people. I can do this." And I started to write on WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram, "Hey, who knows therapists who would come with me up north? Who would help me?" And suddenly, in a few hours, I had 5 or 6 therapists in a WhatsApp group. And I said, "That's it, we're doing this." And I started to call the soldiers that I had met along the way. And I said, "Can we help you? How can we help you? Can we come to where you are? Can I bring treatments to you?" And the next thing I knew, my personal acupuncturist said to me, "I've managed to find you a whole bunch of massage tables you can borrow." Uh, okay, thank you. And I thought we were going to just do this for a few weeks with a few people. October 27th, we headed up to the Hermon, to a base where I had a friend who is a reservist that lives in America. And he jumped on a plane after leaving here 8 years ago and said, "I got to get back into the army." And he said to me, "My body is breaking, Tash." And I said, "Okay, I'm coming. Get me approval. Get your commander on the phone." And he gave me approval to come in. And I brought 3 therapists and 100 soldiers were there. And the difference on these guys' faces instantly, they were sleeping outside in the cold. You know, it was starting to get really cold already in the end of October in the Hermon. There's snow there now. And most of these guys were sort of between the age of 30 and 45. They were so grateful. And I said, "Got it. I know what we got to do. I know what we've got to do." And I turned around to the therapist at the end of the day and I said, "This is going to be something big. Don't know why. There's going to be something big." And we started booking in a couple of bases a week. Suddenly I was out 5 days a week with therapists. Suddenly I had 20 people in my WhatsApp group. And we were just makeshifting it wherever we were. And then it started to take off. Like, I can't even begin to tell you. I had maybe 50 therapists and 60 therapists. And a month into it, I hadn't really taken a break and I was pretty overrun. And I knew I needed to take a break, but I didn't know how to. And so God made it happen for me. I was in a terrible car accident. I smashed into a van at pretty high speed. I do not remember the accident. I do not remember seeing this van coming up. I don't know what happened. And by the time I had hit the van, I looked up and I thought my airbags exploded. And then I looked up and my entire car was on flames. The whole car was on fire. And I said, "Oh my goodness, I've been in an accident. The car's on fire. The car's on fire." And I mean, there was fire everywhere. And I thought, I have to get out. And I couldn't. I was trapped in my car and I was in pain. I couldn't work out what was happening. It felt like it happened very quickly. And I smashed into an Israeli Arab. And he noticed that I was stuck in the car and he managed to run to me and get my door open enough to grab my hand and pull me out of my burning car. He literally saved my life. And I stood up and I really wasn't with it. And I said, "Oh, maybe I can get to my phone." I went to put my hand back and the fire was already on the second half of the car. That's how fast it was spreading. And he grabbed me. He said, "Move now." We took 2 steps and just like an action movie, the entire car blew up in front of my eyes. I was in a police van and they were trying to calm me down, telling me I was having a panic attack. And I was like, obviously, I know that. Trying to get my ID number. I said, "Could you find my brother for me?" Then I found myself in an ambulance with 3 Palestinian Israelis and the face of 2 hostages staring at me from the windows of the ambulance. And it happened to be the weekend of the hostage release. And I remember out loud saying, "What universe am I in? Where am I? What's happening?" I got to the hospital. I borrowed a phone. I contacted my mum, who got to a friend of mine who got me to the hospital. And the whole community came rushing to help me. Oh my goodness, Tasha, what do you need? Let us help you. Let's cook for you. Let's bring you acupuncture. I had people in my WhatsApp group saying, we want to come and give you treatment. And after a couple of days where I realized I wasn't hurt, I had no injury. I had severe bruising in my chest and across my lap. I had no injury. I had no PTSD from this accident. I had no qualms about getting into a car. And I just said, I got to get back out there. And everyone said to me, you crazy? You need to rest. You need to stay home. You need to slow down. And I turned around to everyone and I said, no, it's quite the opposite. God saved my life. He actually totally miraculously saved my life. And there is no way that he didn't save me for any reason other than to make Chayal's angels something for all our soldiers to use. And I need to make this big. And that was it. That was the turning point for me. And since then, we now have 120 therapists in my WhatsApp group. I saw Miriam Krar is on the chat, and she's one of my therapists. And my goodness, do I have awe of that woman. Her son is also doing incredible things. I don't even know how to express the gratitude I feel for leading this group of people. I managed to find the way to bridge the gap between the people who need the help and the people who wanted the help, or sorry, wanted to help. We have currently got, at this very moment, 3 acupuncturists who came in from 3 different states in America and a physiotherapist who came in from Canada. And none of these people have been in Israel more than about 3 times in their life. And they all jumped at the chance to help our IDF. It amazes me constantly. I've got people coming in over the next 2 months. I get messages every day. Hi, I want to come to Israel and help. How does it work? What do we do? You know, I'm not providing them accommodation. I'm not providing their flights. I'm not even providing their materials. They're fundraising and donating stuff to us. We had 3 massage tables gifted to us last week. We've got people looking to gift us more, please God. And the goal is that we will keep serving our soldiers across the northern borders. Yesterday, we were in Metula. It's the first time we managed to get there since the beginning of the war. And the last group of soldiers I saw before the accident, I had lost a bit of patience with at the end of the day, and I felt terribly guilty about it. And they were the very first group of soldiers to walk into me yesterday. And I was so glad to see them, and they all came rushing to me. We're so excited you're here. We're so happy to see you. What's going to happen today? We gave out 120 treatments yesterday, just yesterday, of massage, reflexology, physiotherapy, energy healing, and acupuncture. It was incredible. Incredible. Up until now, we've given out 3,500 treatments in the last 14 weeks. We've got 200 soldiers waiting for us tomorrow. We've got 55 waiting for us on Wednesday. We've got another group of 40 that we've been to a couple of times already on Thursday. And this, I feel, is like everything in my life that I went through, whether it be pain or trauma or whatever, led me to this moment to be able to be the person to create this. But I want to make it crystal clear. I am just the coach. Without these therapists, I literally am nothing. I have nothing. These people give up their time, their resources, their expertise, their money, whatever they need to do to come and treat our soldiers. And I am in awe of them, absolutely in awe of them. I have graphic designers, branding people, fundraising people, lone soldiers doing social media and websites for us, a business coach, all donating their time to me, all to help me make this. And please God, after today, we are joining up with a non-profit that we will be a registered business for not-for-profit to be able to take money in for serious donations from the USA and the UK. I will be doing a fundraising trip later on this year. And the intent is not to just treat our soldiers while they're out in the north, but to get a clinic open where the soldiers or Miluim on their breaks can also come and get treatments for injuries, for trauma healing, for whatever they need. And we'll have some staff there and we'll have workshops. And I don't question it will happen because all I know is that I am working extremely hard but I am not trying extremely hard because it's meant to be happening. And every time I get stuck or I run out of money and I go, okay, what's next? All right, got any goals for me, God? Literally that day, someone turns along and says, hi, I've got something for you. Like after the accident, some beautiful human being I hadn't spoken to just before we lost touch for about 9 years said to me, hey, Tash, I just left the country. My car's up for sale. Take it till you get a car. What?
Wow, Tasha, you are absolutely amazing. And we are in awe of you. You know, you said you were in awe. We are in awe of you. And I'm actually so sorry that we actually have to stop this amazing conversation. Half an hour just flew like that because we could continue. And I've no doubt everyone agrees with me. We could continue listening to your story for a lot more than half an hour. So firstly, whoever wants to reach out to Tasha and to read more, they have a website called Chayal's Angels. So feel free, if you're in the healing or therapeutic profession, to join Tasha's team. If you're not, or you know anyone that could assist her in any way, in contributions, donations, in any way possible, please reach out to Tasha. Tasha, I found this super inspiring. We've had some amazing guests on our series, and we will have amazing guests too. Our guest for next week is the awesome Toby Klein-Greenwald, who is sitting here today. But I will say this story is something that I believe many, many people, everyone in this room and those that are going to watch the recording are going to remember for a long, long time. You were super inspiring. And it just shows that everyone, if we just make that little bit of an extra effort, we can all make a huge, huge difference, not to leave it to the person next door. So thank you so much. We wish you only hatzlacha and just good health and no pain and just continued success. And I certainly will be following your story in the future. Thank you so much once again, Tasha, for joining us. I'm Lesley Kaplan. Thank you to ACI, our co-host. Thank you to Kim Bash, our co-sponsor for this month. And we look forward to seeing you next week on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day and take care of Luna. We look forward to seeing her in the spotlight too.
Thank you, Tasha.
Thank you so much.